I worked with. Oh, you went live now. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyway, go ahead, Jim.
Matthew, take it away.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, great day, everybody. It's so fantastic to be here as always. I love doing these shows and just talking with remarkable people who are all about making the world a better place, helping people with their lives. And today is going to be no different. Jim and I have had the pleasure of interviewing our guests before, and I just love the conversation. Extremely inspiring. So I had to have him back on. But as always, first of all, Jim, my good friend, buddy, how you doing, man?
Oh man, it's amazing these conversations that we're having every day while the world systems crumble, right? While people wake up, they look for what's next, right? How do we solve these problems? And the beauty is we have the solutions. And they're not hypothetical solutions, they're demonstratable solutions, and we are demonstrating at scale around the world. So thank you, Matthew. How's your day going, by the way? Has your basement dried out yet?
Yeah, it's dried out and things are going well all around. Just been a wild day of talking to amazing people. I met with actually Joby Weeks a little while ago, and his woman Dasha. Had a fantastic conversation with them and what they're doing with miracle trees. So extremely excited, man. There's just so much abundance flowing around us, so many great people, opportunities to add value and help the world. And this conversation here will be no different. So wanted to take a minute here to introduce Mr. Tim James, founder and creator of Chemical Free Body, who is joining us today on the show. He's also got his own show, which I hope everybody does take some time to go and check out. Tim, you'll have to remind me of the name of it because it just slipped my mind.
I changed it. It's now called Tim James Unleashed. Because people were trying to look up the other name. They couldn't figure it out because they remembered my name. So we just said, hell with it, make it easy for everybody and change it.
Love it.
That's good. So Tim James, my friend, welcome to the show. So great to have you here. Why don't we start by you just, introducing yourself, let everybody know a little bit about you and where they can find you, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I just grew up over here, low income, middle America, over in Eastern Oregon on a small cattle and hay farm, hunting and fishing, playing baseball, having a good time, became a financial advisor, moved down to the big city. I got sucked down there because summer baseball. Because after American Legion, we didn't have any summer baseball during college. And then my buddy was like, hey, you want to come down and play on our team? We'd love to have you. So I was like, play more ball? Yeah, I'm in. So I started going down to Portland. And then when college was over, I just went down there to play baseball and ended up getting a job and ended up sticking down there for 20 some years, had a couple kids and was a financial advisor and did some other stuff. And when my friend got cancer, I got my eyes opened up to the whole detoxification world and gut microbiome and all this pollution that's in on our cells, and all these umbilical cord studies are showing that every child being born today has chemicals in the womb that are causing cancer and developmental and brain disorders. And let me repeat that. Every single child around the modern world has cancer-causing chemicals in the womb. So I just finished an ebook called Dying in the Womb, and that really set me back. And I was like, I've got to tell people about this. I figured if I could help people get these chemicals out of their body because they just don't know they're there, and show them how to do it, that would make a massive difference. And we've helped a lot of people that have been to professionals in the healthcare industry, and they've tried everything. And a lot of times they're even told that there's nothing wrong with you, but they know there is. And I remember this one lady. She was a 911 operator, and she said, "Look, Tim." We were at like one of those shows where we had a booth and stuff. And she's like, look, I have literally went to so many different types of doctors and all these people. And she's like, I'm miserable. She's like, I'm going to have to quit my job. And I'm just distraught because I finally found a career that I absolutely love. I feel like I'm doing something important in the world and I'm good at it. But she's like, physically just can't go to work anymore. And I'm going to have to quit. I said, well, okay. Well, I said, have you tried detoxing your cells? And she's like, well, what do you mean? And she never even heard that language. And I said, well, why don't we try that? Let's get a lot of good, clean, purified, restructured water in you and use some of these herbs and these ancient technologies and combine it with some newer stuff, maybe some awesome far infrared, and see what happens. And And guess what? That lady created a new environment in her home and in her gut and in her cells, and she was able to change her body and heal and able to keep that job and doing what she loves. So that's what I love doing. I like taking people that are lost and confused like I was. I was 42 pounds overweight. I was pooping blood for 2.5 years. I had severe gastrointestinal issues and had to be life flighted on an emergency deal on a vacation down in South America to a hospital to save my life. And this is where Western medicine shines. And most people are, I guess, kind of aware of it. But for the ones that aren't, because I wasn't, like, I didn't know that Western medicine was born out of crisis care, out of war. So in wartime, when you get your arms blown off or you get shrapnel and you get shot in the face, like, you need a massive quick action and you have to do radical things. And that's what that care system. So emergency rooms are unbelievable and they're a massive necessary part of our healthcare system. But unfortunately, that one little piece has been completely overshadowed by the dark cloud of the chronic care disease care system, which is, basically just it's just cut, burn, and, surgery, a lot of unnecessary surgeries, chemotherapy, radiation, and then synthetic drugs that can work for time to time, small little things, but could be a band-aid to get you to the natural stuff. And what most people, like I, didn't even know. I mean, most of these pharmaceutical drugs actually come from nature. They're synthesized. Half of lisinopril is snake venom.
Yeah.
Right. And then like white aspirin comes from white willow bark. Why not just eat white willow bark? Or, some of these statin drugs come from red yeast rice. Why not just eat red yeast rice and not have any of the side effects? So this was the whole thing for me. And I've been on this, once I got woke up and started doing all this stuff and research. And I just got mad in the beginning because I'm like, I couldn't believe they're putting toxins in the food at the grocery stores.
Yeah.
And then I found out that 4,300 people a day are dying in this country from processed foods. We have a 9/11 event every day and a half. This is front page news, but not on mainstream because it's controlled. So anyway, it's been a long journey. I was able to heal myself. I've helped 700 people take on a one-on-one basis, get their health back and the gut health and all that stuff. And now thousands worldwide. And we've shared the message with millions of people now. And then I realized, looking outside in the farm here, that like, if I really want to help people, we have to heal the soil, because the same microbiome in the soil, the same ones in our gut. So now that's where I'm getting into regenerative farming. I got the chicken coops, we got the ducks. I bring in mycelium in. I've got a well getting drilled right now, a new well. So we have one for the houses and a new irrigation deal. And we're just excited about the future and becoming self-sustainable and being a place where people can come, basically be an educational center to hand out permission slips for other people to do what we're doing. And we really want to educate the farmers, Jim. So we have a friend of mine that's going to move in with me over the next and live with me for 2 years. He's a documentarist and he's going to film this whole thing. And the goal is to get this entire pristine valley that I thought was pristine, it's full of chemicals, and make it chemical free. That's the whole idea. And save these farmers, because the farmers are literally killing themselves, spraying this shit all over the crops. And then they're making an output that goes out into these processed food places that's killing all of us. So, and these farmers are great people. They're decent, hardworking people. They're just doing what they know to do. I mean, we used to till and do all this stuff. And so I want to show them a different way, show them how to make more money, use less water, save more money there, and reduce their chemicals by 100% and start growing food and outputs that heal people.
Awesome. All around awesome. And I couldn't agree more. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to have you as a visitor here. And we spent some good time together. By chance, do you have your guitar with you? Man, I tell you what, you inspired me. My next phase is to learn how to cook, because I want to close the loop. Right. And then I would love you to play that song you played for me. It was so beautiful. And the phase after that is I'm going to learn how to be an entertainer. So I'm going to learn how to cook. I'm going to learn how to play the guitar. And you helped inspire me in that. Thank you, brother.
10 minutes a day. Just go buy a cheap guitar, And then get a little guitar stand and set it where you got easy access to it, and just pick it up 10 minutes a day. That's the path.
Oh man,
I can help you on the food stuff too, because I became a chef too, and I always was interested in the kitchen. I like doing stuff, cooking and baking with my mom. But with you, a lot of the stuff is, it's more food preparation, because you have all those fresh foods, and you can cook some of them. But I don't know where you guys wanted to go with things today, but I mean, we could talk about the power of biophotons, just because So this was really interesting. So there was this Dr. Fitzpop out of Germany, and he coined the phrase biophotons. What these are is, this is the light energy that comes down from the sun, and it's captured in the leaf of a plant. So how the plant, this is actually so cool. I've been nerding out on this stuff. So plants take carbon dioxide, 2 molecules, and they sandwich and trap the sun's light energy with their mitochondria. Pretty cool. We eat the leaf of a plant then, or the animal that ate the leaf of a plant, and then it goes inside of our cells, where we have mitochondria, which are these, they used to be bacteria, but they've kind of morphed. These are the powerhouses inside of our cells. Our mitochondria release the sun's energy between those carbon dioxide molecules and give us energy. So this is like how we, you think about a human being, we give off heat. And if you look under Kirlian photography, you can see the light emitting from the human body. And so what's really cool is that Dr. Fitzpop found out that if you eat a completely junk food diet, you're going to emit 1,000 biophotons, right? This light energy, because we're like living light beings. Now, if you eat 100% organic cooked food diet, so all that food that you're growing beautifully in your wonderful soil there, right? At Galt's Landing. But you cook it all, you're going to emit 23,000 biophotons as a living being walking around on this planet. Newborn babies emit 43,000 biophotons. Now, if somebody was crazy enough to do this, and there are a very small amount of people doing it, like Dr. Gabriel Cousins, they eat a 100% living food diet. They don't cook anything. Those people emit 83,000 biophotons from their body, which is almost double of a newborn child. And this is why this guy's in his 80s, and he's out gardening and doing stuff. He does yoga for an hour every morning at 6 a.m. And he has a great life. He has no disease in his body, because his light energy in his body is so powerful. He's burning disease out of his body, and everything's just working properly. But now, for everybody, most people listening, they're like, dude, there's no way I'm going to eat all sprouts and sprouted nuts. This is what I'm talking about. Sprouts, sprouted nuts, sprouted seeds, sprouted grains, sprouted beans. Things have just been soaked in water and activated. You can make all kinds of stuff out of this. You can make hummus out of chickpeas, and there's a lot of foods you can do this with, right? But the thing of it is like, most people are eating zero of this stuff, zero living foods. You're eating 100% processed foods. So you need to get this light energy into your body. It's like grounding, sticking your feet on the ground. One of the most profound healing things that you can do is grounding. And what does it cost? It's absolutely free. I'm grounding right now. Look at my sheet. This is a grounding pad. So as I'm working in the office, I'm grounding right now. I'm charging my cells, getting the sunshine, and then releasing this biophoton energy. I call it green light therapy. And this is what we have in our greens is different than a lot of these other greens on the market, because of the way we've harvested it, we've concentrated it, and it's all air dried or sun dried under 110 degrees to keep the biophoton energy, so that when you add water to it and you drink it, you're still releasing a large amount of light into the body. And that's why these intuitive people understand that this Green 85 juice formula is kind of special compared to other greens. It's just not green stuff, ground up in a can, thrown in there because it's got a hot name to it. Buy the ingredients as cheap as they can and do amazing marketing, right? Now, that's still going to get people better, because they're not drinking or eating any greens, and it helps them drink more water. So that's a good step. But I'm kind of fanatical about this stuff. So anyway, that's kind of the thing on the biophotons, and we're actually made of light, because everything on this planet comes from the sun. And if you believe in God, then God put the sun there. So without the sun, we'd be a frozen ice cube spinning through space. But thank God for the sun. Comes down, the plants trap the light energy. We're in their mitochondria. We release it in ours, And then we have the potential to raise our cellular frequency and our mitochondria production from these living foods, releasing these biophotons from the sun.
That's amazing. I often say when we're walking through and I'm giving a tour of the food forest, I'm grabbing moringa leaves and creme hibiscus and all the other things that are going on. I said, this is like eating sunlight. So along to your point, and you could feel it. The energy, the vibration, the frequency is raised in this symphony of life here.
I'm so excited that you have the tree of life, Matt, that you just mentioned it, moringa. It's one of the main ingredients in our Green 85 formula. It's an unbelievable. I mean, every single part of that tree is medicinal, from the leaves to the stems to the bark to the roots. Every single part of that tree is. In fact, there's been people that said that one tree could help heal the entire world.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they've been doing it. They've been doing it in Africa and other places where they add moringa leaves to every meal, and within 30 days, people are healed.
Yep.
I love just coming out here and eating some sunlight.
Does the human body do something similar when we're exposed to the sunlight ourselves? Are we capturing energy in the same way, or does it always have to come in through eating?
Well, no. I mean, you're also getting a direct source. It's just different. I don't know if it goes in through the mitochondria and it's trapped that way without the food part of it. But I do know, as an example, there's a hormone that's inaccurately categorized as vitamin D, vitamin D3. Is just one example of what we get from the sun. And it's really important, right? So we need that. It's a vital part of our hormonal system. I think it's responsible for about 5% of all hormonal function in the body is the vitamin D from the sun. So it's a massive immune booster. It's like it's almost like military sharpshooters. So that vitamin D is in the body, and it's like it's first line of defense. And these pathogens and stuff come in, they're sitting there literally picking them off and ripping open exoskeletons, and they're like shooting holes in the cellular walls of certain viruses, bacteria, molds, yeast, fungus, parasites, that kind of stuff. So it's really important, especially people that have darker skin. Their skin's darker simply for one reason, because their ancestors came in hotter climates. They had a lot more sun exposure, so their body over time has developed more of a resistance to the sun, because they're going to be out there in the sun all the time, and it's a protective thing. Now, us guys, we have lighter skin, so we can go out in the sun. We can get 30 minutes or an hour and get what we need. But somebody with darker colored skin that's living in Chicago above the 45th parallel, they might need 4 or 5 hours a day, and they're not getting it. Especially on the lockdowns, they're like, stay inside, don't go outside. Well, that's a death sentence for all of us, but especially for people of darker skin. Like you need, that's why supplementing with vitamin D3, especially in the winter months, or if you're darker skinned and you live in colder climates, it's a necessity. So yeah, absolutely. We don't even know, Matthew, there could be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of benefits from being in sunlight in the human body, and all these trillions and trillions of cells that we have going on inside of us.
Yeah. Difference between life and death, right? So the drumstick tree, right? The moringa tree, the tree. The seed pod, you open this thing up and look at all the seeds in there. It's amazing how much abundance, right? This one seed could turn into
a forest
of life, of food, of medicine. It's epic. In fact, I'll share a real quick story. Tomorrow morning, we are going to a homeless camp in the woods, where a bunch of homeless people have got together and they have their little tent city in the woods. And I'm going to be bringing a bunch of moringa seeds, and I'm also going to be bringing sweet potato starts. And we are going to start planting all over this homeless camp sweet potatoes. Then we're going to get as many people as want to be part of it, and we're going to film a discussion sharing with these people how they can start planting seeds around this area and create abundance in this area.
Yeah, not even to get to the point where they can grow their own food, but they can grow so much food they can start selling it and making an income.
There you go. Yeah, they can grow everything they need right there on the property. Yeah, it's and then we're gonna film it so it can be duplicated. Man, it's a lot of fun.
That's really cool. That's awesome. That's how you help people,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the amount of homeless people right there is just a byproduct of a broken system. We have a broken system right now in this country. Everything is just it's time for renewal.
It is
right?
by design,
it's too obvious.
by design.
And the way I looked at it too, Jim, is like I used to get so pissed off about this, and there were certain political people I'd support and I'd send money to them, and I realized they're all in it together.
Yeah.
They just, they laugh at working class people because they pretend on camera that they're against each other, and then behind the scenes they're all sleeping with each other and going to cocktail parties, and that's what's really happening. And I finally I'm just like, why would I let them disturb my nervous system, disturb my cortisol levels, disturb my adrenal glands? And I'm not going to give them that power anymore. I release that power, and I just look at it like, okay, the thing about God is that God gave us free will and choice. And so if somebody chooses to do like stuff like they're doing, pedophilia at the extent of the highest level, I think, of terribleness, they still have to have that as a choice. Otherwise, there's no free will. It's like freedom of speech. You got to let people say what they want. You can't just censor part of it. Otherwise, you don't have free speech.
Right.
Now, there are consequences for your actions. Like if you decide to be a pedophile, then you probably need to be locked up. Okay, not probably, but you need to. No offense, but I think that's where we should have what's called the wood chipper law, and just go into a wood chipper, right? So, I mean, I say that with love, but the bottom line is why are they doing that? And I think again, it's the degradation of society. It's the breakdown of the nuclear family. It's an absence of light. It's an absence of love. It's an absence of support. And these people have kind of lost their way. And these people in so-called power have to do these things towards us because they're in fear, right? So they have to announce their presence with authority, and they have to control everything and make us do what we want to have, by God. It's like that's obviously showing that they're scared and they feel like they have no power, and that's why they have to do these things. Matthew and you and me, we realize that we are indestructible forces of nature in God, that you cannot make us not more powerful than we already are. We are creations of God. I mean, have unbelievable potential and power. It's indescribable. 100%. It's infinite.
It's infinite. It's
so
limitless.
When you learn that, it's like, you start being compassionate for these other people because they're living in fear, trying to control people.
Yep. They're living in pain. Like Theo Fleury says, all suffering is a result of trauma, and it's government-induced trauma, which is the most common form of trauma. Systematic, strategic, government-induced trauma. So what do? We step away from that system and we live free again, which is what you're alluding to.
Yeah. And I'm so connected with all the people, like a lot of people that you're connected to. I literally turned off the buzzer on my phone years ago. My stress level went down. People are like, I have a hard time getting hold of you. Someone get a little upset about it. I'm like, I call you back when I can at certain times when I get there. I don't have stress. I don't do social media anymore at all. Like I'm not on it because I still get little bits and pieces from everybody. So I already know what's going on, but I try not to bring it in too much because I just like to go outside. Like me and my son, we went up and ran 4 miles on the trails up in the woods today, doing push-ups and stuff. We're fist bumping. I mean, spending time with my son, quality time. I'm getting out in that fresh air. I'm I'm doing all these cool things. I'm not thinking about the world collapsing. I started building this regenerative farm because I thought the world is going to collapse. And so that is the major shift for me was when I stopped doing things from fear and I started doing things out of excitement. Right. I'm not building this regenerative farm now at all because I'm in fear. I'm not worried about the timetables and when everything's going to crash. I'm building it and I'm going to enjoy every moment of it. And because I'm excited about being a free, independent creature on this planet, self-sustainable, where I don't need anybody and I can help others and I can show them how to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
It's better than freeing your mind.
What's that?
I think the biggest thing to really help people understand is it started with freeing your mind, right? The mind control that's been placed on all of us silently, right? Most people are not aware of how this mind control operation has taken hold of our brains. But once you are aware and you decide to make a different choice by unplugging from social media, by shutting off your television, by disconnecting from the news, and getting yourself set right, surrounding yourself with people who are empowering you, supporting you on your adventure, cheering you on, you make different choices and you see much different results, and your stress goes down and your happiness goes up, but you freed your mind in the beginning. And I think that's a place where the vast majority of people do not even know that they're under a spell. And it's like, what needs to be done to help them wake up? It's not going to be us talking about it. It's going to have to be something that happens for them. That's that catalyst or the spark to get them to make this shift. But I think that's really an important thing for everybody to know. First step is you got to get your mind free.
One of the best things for this is doing a technology fast, getting away from all, first we tell people all the time, if you don't want to lower your stress, you want to heal, turn off the news, turn off the TV. I don't even watch TV. I haven't watched it in years. Like, people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, why would I turn it on? They're just throwing up fear 24/7. It's all like you guys say, it's programmed. Yeah. So I know it. So instead of getting mad at it like I used to, I'm just like, I choose not to participate, right? Yeah. If you don't like buying crappy clothes because they're crappy or crappy products, you're mad at the crappy products, the easiest way to not have crappy products is don't buy them. Yeah. Just don't buy them. Don't participate. I don't deal with Amazon. Like, I use Amazon as a search tool, and then I go directly to the companies and buy direct. I pay more money. I pay for shipping. I'll wait an extra day or two, and I'm happy about that. I'm really happy about that, because I had an insider of Amazon on my show, and he told me what was up, and I was like, oh my God, I'm like, you got to get on my show. And so
can you share some of that stuff?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is that they're under the guise of like, we're hiring and we're paying more and doing this kind of stuff, but they're moving towards automation. So whether you are a carbon-based robot to them, a human being, or or a metal robot, something that's made out of or silicone, like a computer-based one, it's as soon as the robots are cheaper than you, you're gone. And then these automations, they already have machines, he said, that are running around and grabbing stuff and moving it and putting it all. These machines running around. So it's just a matter of time before, it's going to be all automated. And the people are gone. There's no value. That company has no value in a human.
Right. And everybody was under this illusion of the story that Bezos borrowed $250,000 and he created this amazing company out of his garage. That's all a lie. His grandpa was one of the founders and the main guys at DARPA. These are government organizations with one intent: to control the mind of the asset, of the slave, right? Same with Bill Gates. His dad, William Sr., was the head of Planned Parenthood, which kills 50 million babies a year, right? All of these stories, they're all BS. And anyway, we're starting to become aware of that, and the solutions are abundantly simple, right? Yeah. Take yourself and your energy out of that system, like you're talking about, and start living again. Start stewarding the land again, and take the poisons out, number one.
Yeah. It's funny, since I've met you, pretty much everywhere I go, I look at lawns differently. Yeah. And I'm like driving around, I was like, wow, those people's house looks gorgeous. It's so manicured, and it's growing no food. Yeah. And they put all that time and effort and energy in it, and they're probably spraying chemicals on it as well, killing themselves, killing the planet. And it's just a little shift. It's like just all that. God, I mean, just the front yards, for God's sake, if they turned them into food growing operations. Imagine walking around to a city where every yard was growing food. Yeah, I get it. And, and it's like, I got lucky, dude. I had a blow my mind. I don't know where it came from, but our yard, I've shrunk it down. I've got it a lot smaller. The rest of it we've turned into massive gardens. I've got wood chips coming in mycelium. But in my grass, yarrow started growing.
Yeah.
And it's going everywhere. And I was like, this is like high in vitamin C. It's very medicinal. I'm picking that stuff and eating it all day long. It's in my yard. I'm thinking, why not have yarrow lawns?
Yeah.
It's soft. I mean, you could play with your kids on it and the dogs. And then if you're rolling around and your kid's pinning you from the on top of you, and you could just start eating some yarrow while your kid's pinning you. Get yourself a little vitamin C IV through your mouth.
I love it.
It's just there's different ways of doing things. Mm-hmm. But people just need the education. And
they just need the awareness, the education. Just that one little shift in awareness will lead to mass adoption. And here's the thing, just take the ornamentals. We'll take the poisons out, number one. And then just substitute the ornamental shrubs and bushes for raspberries and blueberries and blackberries and all that other stuff.
Gooseberries.
And then the fruit tree or the ornamental trees for food producing and not, food producing trees. If that's all we did, the world would be healed and hunger would end and everything would be good.
You know what's really interesting too that I also notice in town is there are a lot of walnut trees and apple trees and stuff like that. And you go around, you see all this fruit falling to the ground and getting rotten, and you go knock on the door, you're like, hey, can I get some of your pears and your apples? And they're like, oh, yeah, take them. Those damn things are making a mess. It's like you have the best food on the planet growing in your yard. And it's like, okay. And now I'm like, do you spray anything? And I'm like, then I talk to neighbors and make sure they're not spraying nothing and talk to the city. You got to do your homework. Otherwise, it could be in the food, of course.
Yeah.
But I drive around our valley, and there are so many plum trees and apple trees and pear trees and apricot trees, and nobody's picking them.
Oh,
God. I mean, nothing. We have a little kind of like an heirloom gala apple right down the road here, this little tree, and it produces a talk about abundance. I can't even imagine how many apples come off this damn little tree. It's unbelievable. Wow. I go and I load up on them, and they are so crisp and delicious and yummy. And I love eating them, and they're coming right around the corner. I can't wait. Another month we're going to be picking them.
I would say a lot of people that grow these beautiful manicured lawns, they don't even know why they do it, other than they feel the pressure of the neighbor that they need to keep up. Right? Instead of letting it go, turning into a meadow with diverse ecosystem, all kinds of different plants, grasses, medicinals, etc. Like, I can't do that. I'm going to let my neighborhood down.
Do you guys have any other options for Matthew, do you have any other options for grass besides yarrow?
Many.
Clover, yeah, red clover.
Perennial
peanut. The only thing about clover is then you're going to step on bees, but
I walk through clover all the time, perennial peanut and sunshine mimosa, and I don't ever step. I mean, I watch where I step, and I walk slow when I'm in a particular area, but it's really a non-issue.
Well, if you do get stung, it will boost your immune system. So
it will actually. Yeah, I think there's something. I think it's nature's vaccine. So I had an experience one time when my girl, who's now 5, will be 5 in a couple months, when she was 1. She wasn't even walking yet, and she could stand up, but she couldn't really step very well. Anyway, I brought her to the park, and we're on the mulch, and I happened to be video recording at the time because it was the first time where like her and I were at the park, and she was on the mulch. It was just cute, and I'm videoing, and all of a sudden a bee, it's on video, the bee goes out of its way. Now my daughter is sitting on the mulch. She's not shaking a tree. She's sitting in a park on the mulch, and the bee goes boom right on her ear and stings her ear. That is not normal. And I think that there's some intelligence that we are not aware of. I think that act was good for my daughter. Yes, she cried a little bit. She started rubbing her ear, which lasted 5 minutes, and then she was fine. But I think there's something about that. And you just said it. It's a boost of the immune system, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you just look at beekeepers; they have less disease. They live longer than people overall. Here's something on the spiritual level that I got to look this up because I heard this guy talking about it. That bee, like you said, there's a higher, obviously a greater intelligence, must have recognized her frequency that she needed something, came down, sacrificed its life. Not really sacrificed, but intentionally, willfully came down to ascend through your daughter, putting its DNA and its medicine into your daughter and ascending. And there was this guy, and I can't remember, he's just like somebody who was out in nature studying for 25 plus years, wrote books and stuff. And I can't remember the guy's name, but like a big name, like that a lot of people would know. And he said he was watching the eagles, right, swimming around in these high lakes and the trout and stuff. And he was explaining things to people, and you'd see the shadow and the fish, and they come down and grab it and everything. And then he said, so he had this, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was the process of nature. And then he said, after 25 years of being out in nature and studying this stuff, everything got flipped on its end, because what he witnessed was literally an eagle coming in to get this fish, and he was right there in front of it. The eagle did not jump or swoop down and grab the fish out of the lake. The fish jumped into the eagle's talons to ascend.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I was like, I even heard when the way he explained it, this guy explained, I had chills. I was like, holy shit. Like, so these plants and animals have intelligence, and in the natural order of things, they're okay. Like when you see a rabbit getting eaten by a fox, it's kind of brutal, but in a way that rabbit was ascending, and it's choosing that path. Maybe not in the physical manner, but on the higher mind level, the God level, it was moving up the ladder through that fox. That's a whole different way of thinking about things.
Yeah.
What's that?
I wondered if it was the man's name Charles Henry Turner.
I don't know. Were you looking up fish jumping into?
Just like famous bee scientists who made an impact in that space.
Okay.
The big ones that
So
popped up.
Tim, I know that happens, because what we understand about our natural world is infinitesimal, right? We don't know how. I mean, just a leaf is an infinitely more complex solar panel than a solar panel, right? We have no idea how this works. Like AI cannot create a food forest, right? So there's something so profound about that. And the being witness to that bee, which came out of its flight path by 3 or 4 feet to sacrifice itself or to ascend, which is more logical, right? There was something profound about it. And I know it was of benefit, and then what do all the jabs and injections do? They create this allergic reaction to things that are normally very, very good for us, right? So number one is take the poisons out.
Absolutely. So what do you guys got going on at Galt's Landing now?
Oh man, it's a lot. The growth is exponential. It's a lot of fun. The biggest thing for me is I've been so busy. I've been telling myself, I got to do this and that and the other thing. I was reading both Gandhi and Thich Nhat Hanh. They were also very busy, and they both had a thing to do. Gandhi, it was spinning yarn. And for Thich Nhat Hanh, it was gardening. And somebody told Thich Nhat Hanh in one of his books, he talks about this account where many people would say, Thich Nhat Hanh, you're too busy. You don't have time to be gardening today. And he said, I can't do what I do without gardening. Like gardening is my meditation. It's my yoga. It's my divine connection time. So as a result of that inner awareness, I've been putting fruit trees in the ground, and every day I go out and I put something in the ground, or I manage or maintain trees, and I want to do it all the time now. Like I am completely hooked. I'm joyfully, lovingly addicted to spending time with the food forest and with the animals now.
Yeah. I can't even imagine what that place is going to look like in 10 years. It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
And guys, I got to jump because holy cow, I've got, there's some pretty big meetings as well as this one going on. But you guys can keep chatting. I love you, Tim, and I can't wait for you to come back and teach me more guitar lessons and some other stuff about nutrition
Awesome.
and natural health.
Yeah, I'll hit you up. Let's chat in the next week or two.
All right. Thanks, buddy. See you, Matthew. Love you guys.
Thanks, brother.
See you, Jim.
Okay. Ciao.
Yeah, Tim, you want to stay on for a little bit longer? You got time
Sure.
still?
Sure, yeah.
Awesome. So man, I love what you do. Your mentality around pulling chemicals out of the body is just so spot on. And why don't you just share a little bit more about what you've been able to do with chemical-free body, how you're helping take chemicals from the human body, and what kind of things do these chemicals, heavy metals, all the stuff that are in us right now, what happens when they're there, kind of what lives on them, and how do we get them out, and what can we expect as far as transformation when we do so?
Well, some of the, like, when I first made this realization, I had basic level knowledge of what to do, but I really didn't know. But the mission was, how do I help get these things out of my body? How do I get them out of my cells? How do I get them out of my fat and my muscle tissue? With the umbilical cord studies being, people can just type in 3 words, umbilical cord chemical, when they're done listening to this show, umbilical cord chemical. And you can go see all the studies that I saw going back to 2005. And you'll be like aghast. You won't even believe like it's even possible, and nobody's talking about this stuff. But as bad as it is, those studies, is that the chemicals are actually concentrated 500 to 1,000% more in the fat and muscle tissue of the human body. So the blood serum tells you a very scary story, but it gets 500 to 1,000 times or percent more scarier. Let that sink in. I mean, it's crazy. So people that are trying to lose weight, well, your fat cells are not going to just drop a whole bunch of or drop off if they're full of toxins. They're holding onto these toxins as a protective measure. So you can work out as hard as you want, but struggling to lose weight, well, this probably could be a baseline issue. One of the fundamental things, the reason why you can't. And eventually they're just going to lower your immune system until a catastrophic event happens. Then you're going to end up in probably a broken system, and they're going to put more chemicals in you. And so that doesn't make sense either. So the solution's nature. So, other things like heavy metals. I was poisoned with heavy metals pretty hardcore. Lead paint in the 70s, loading lead shotgun shells all the time, 24/7, making lead jig heads for crappie and bass fishing, lead split shots. It's just, I don't know, I was just around a lot of it, and working construction, working on the farm. And it took, I don't know, like 9 years of taking saunas and detoxing and doing all this stuff. And I thought I'd gotten all of it out. And then I got into a very specialized far infrared sauna. And then when I got into that one, about 2 months into it, 2.5 months into it, all of a sudden, all this gray stuff, once I got up to the 25-minute mark, which got my core temperature up to 3.2 degrees, which is very important. All of a sudden, all this gray stuff started coming out in my towel for a year. Every day for a year, I had all this gray stuff coming out. And then eventually, after about a year, it was every other, and then every third, and then every fourth, and every fifth. And still today, 2-3 years later, I still have a little spottiness from time to time. It's still coming out. So,
Really?
So heavy metals as an example, parasites grab them and use them in part of their biofilm to protect them from things getting them. And then also with the amount of 5G, all these EMFs and stuff, when you have all these microparticles of aluminum and lead and mercury and cadmiums and all these things in your body, you become like a radio tower. Mm-hmm. You're like a cell phone tower. And when the 5G, this 2.4 gigahertz from smartphones and microwaves hits the body, all of a sudden it's bzzz, you're getting zapped, especially for young children. Like there's certain things where they get injected, there's aluminum in there, and this all of a sudden, boom, they start getting autistic symptoms. I think it's the combination of these heavy metals in the brain and then being zapped from them, and then they can't concentrate, or actually it makes them hyper focused in one area, but they kind of lose the obviously the skills and stuff like that. And
there's a serious gut tie into that as well.
Oh, absolutely. And we've seen. I mean, I had one of the couples that we worked with came on, and they felt, a lot of them didn't want to come on to the show because they were afraid they were going to lose their kid or something, for helping to heal their own kid, because they weren't getting help. Actually, their kid was fine, got jabbed, and all of a sudden autistic. And then they called it 4 years of living hell. And then finally the dad's like, well, screw it. They said there's nothing we can do. Just live with it. Put him on these medications. So they started listening to podcasts. And then he said they got him off of wheat and dairy, and that improved his health. And then they started putting him on a good CBDA product. That helped. Then they, see, what else did they do? Then they started looking for, he was listening about the heavy metals on another podcast and thought he'd get him out. He looked at our toxin detox product, and all the natural herbs that he was researching, he was planning on buying for his son, were all in that product. And he was already taking it. He was a cop. His wife was a hairdresser. So he's thought, well, I take 3 of these capsules a day. I'll just give my son 1. He did it all on his own. And then within 30 days, his son spoke for the first time in years. Wow. Within 6 months, they actually got a full recovery of their son. So it was a process they went through. They stopped putting in toxic garbage into their son, and then they learned how to chelate and get these heavy metals and toxins out of their son, and use supportive things. And they were able to heal their son on their own. And so they were very, very grateful for that, because they got their life back.
Yeah, of course. And again, just a testament to the power of the resiliency of the human body and nature. And when we get out of our own way and start to trust that God has put all the resources that we need to heal ourselves,
of course,
and we dive into that and we seek out experts who have done it, helped others do it, proven it, and then pay attention, right? And hats off to that mom and dad for taking charge instead of letting the system tell them that this is something your son is stuck with.
Yeah.
That they believed enough in themselves that they could go and get the education, they could seek it out, the knowledge, they could implement things, they could try stuff. If it didn't work, they could adjust, but it was driven by them. And we need more parents doing that today. Your children are being negatively impacted from before they're even born, right? You as a mother, you have these chemicals, heavy metals, all these things in your body. And as Tim already alluded to, they're passing to your children in the womb. And they're born with hundreds of these things already in their, what should be a clean slate system.
Yeah.
But instead it's full of toxins, which then now perpetuates itself over the years of their initial development, along with injections, along with the chemicals in the diapers, right? You open a pack of Pampers diapers and it's like, whoa, the smell of the chemicals in there. But parents put those things on their kids.
Yeah, because they're convenient, and then the landfills and all that stuff. It's crazy.
And the biggest thing that I take away from all that is that parents who are the closest to their children really need to take charge and not blindly trust the medical system to have your children's best interest in mind. It's up to you. If you want to have healthy children, you got to take control of that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't find great pediatricians. Not saying you can't find a great doctor, because they do exist. But don't just go with what you've always done because you've always done it. It's up to you.
Let's just look into nature. Look at all the wildlife that's out there. All of them they're not sick. And if they are sick, they go to nature. Horses, literally, there have been cancer cures where somebody watched a horse with cancer, and then the horse went out and started eating different stuff. And the guy followed the horse around and saw all the stuff he ate, gathered it all up, made an herbal concoction with it or a tincture, and started giving it to humans. And some of the humans started healing of their cancer as well. There's an intelligence in these animals. So they go away. But if you look at wildlife, they're all pretty healthy, right? They're all fit because they're all moving. They're all outside. They're all in nature. They're grounding. They're eating fresh foods. They're flooding their body with the biophotons we talked about earlier.
Yep.
And here we are, all sick. There is no animal that has to go to a hospital to get well. The hospital is under their feet. It's everywhere. It's the sunshine. It's the air. It's the clean water. And it's pretty simple. Like it's kind of a big statement, but if we got rid of every hospital around, I would believe that health would just, it would just go, we'd be much healthier. Right. Now it would suck. I still want to have the emergency rooms because accidents do happen. Right. And there are certain things, but for the most part, we'd be much healthier, just like wild creatures. They are all their own doctors. And that's my big mission, is to teach people that you can be your own doctor. You need to take responsibility, not just for your health, but every single aspect of your life. Your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your spouse, your kids, your mother, your aunt, your uncles, all these people, your career. Do what you love, not go to a job just to pay the bills. 74% of people are doing that. All these things can be improved on, but people are living in fear, so they stay where they're at just in case. And so I'm telling you, it's always more fun on the other side, right? The stuff that's the scariest, the fair rides at the county fair, the scariest ones are the most fun.
Yeah.
Right. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. I've talked to so many people that healed their health, and then all of a sudden their relationships improve, or they get a new relationship, or, their career changes. They finally get the gumption, like, you know what, I am going to start that business, or I'm going to tell them that I'm not working here anymore because they don't treat me very good, Yeah. But it's important to make those changes for your own, because you only get one shot at this life. So why not do what you love and have fun and have great relationships and be healthy? Who wants to go to the doctor all the time? Be your own doctor.
Totally agree. And on the fear side, the biggest rewards come from that. The experience of bungee jumping, amazing fear leading up to it, but you did it anyways, and what a rush! I loved it. I've done it 9 more times. Jumping out of an airplane, terrified, but I jumped out, had so much fun. I did it again the same day.
Yeah.
Right? Just amazing experiences are found on the other side of your fear. These stories we tell ourselves about what cannot be and what could happen. When you face that and you keep going, the world opens up and you get beautiful experiences.
Yeah, and don't let people talk down to you. If you go anywhere and somebody starts scaring you, saying things that are very scary to you, and they put you in fear mode, you're in the wrong place. Mm-hmm. Right there. That is a telltale sign. There should be nothing more than love and support and truth. And sometimes the truth can be a little scary, but it's how it's presented, without arrogance. It's just from, a lot of experience. Now, you asked me earlier about Chemical Free Body and like what we do and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm a genius, but I'm committed to getting this crap out of my system. And I have learned a lot over the last 13 years. So I want to be able to be a walking, talking example of this. And I just had $1,600 worth of tests done: fecal test, urine test, saliva test, blood test, very expensive, and MRT blood test, hair samples, saliva, all these things, right? The guy who's been doing these tests for 20 some years, and his wife does them too, she was looking at my results. She's like, why are you taking a case? Because he has like 3,000 practitioners that work underneath him now that he's trained all over the world. He doesn't do cases too much anymore because we're working on a relationship and stuff. And anyway, he took my case, and she's like, what are you looking at this guy's stuff for? And she's like, oh, he goes, I'm helping this guy. We've kind of got maybe some business stuff going on, or whatever their conversation was. She's like, who is this guy? I've never seen labs like this before. I have like literally no E. coli, no salmonella. There's not even a trace. Stuff's not even showing up in my gastrointestinal tract. They've never seen it. And she's like, how old is this guy anyway? He's like, I don't know. I think he's like 38. I'm 51 years old. So he's like, I can't wait to tell her that, because now she's really going to be mind blown. So it doesn't matter what age you are, but when you learn about nature and plugging back in, you too can heal, just like I did, because I was a mess. Remember, I was pooping blood. I had to be life flighted, have emergency gastrointestinal surgery. I had a lot of issues. So how did this whole Chemical Free Body thing, what happened was I went through 33 labs, and I finally found Dr. Scott Treadway, who's a former Marine, who learned, he's a master herbalist in Indian herbology, Chinese herbology, and Western herbology. And so he's the one that makes our formula. So it's really his genius, and I'm just getting that out to the world. And now after his death, I'm really, really wanting to get his products and his formulas out to the world, because they're life-changing.
Well, man, I love what you've been able to put together. I've used your products. I think they're fantastic. I speak very highly of them, and definitely people need to be utilizing things that you are producing. I love the greens, and I promote it to a lot of people that have also bought it and given me the same type of feedback. So congratulations on what you're doing, and hats off. Keep it up, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And I think it's a great time, good high note for us to end on. Again, you dropped so much wisdom here about how people can take charge of their life and heal themselves. so many fascinating topics, you know, the biophotons, the umbilical cord studies, the different things that are impacting people's health and solutions to it. So
Yeah.
thank you, as always, for your time, your friendship, and for your leadership.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. It's good talking to you again. Say hi to Jim, and thanks to the listeners, and I'll see you guys again soon.
All right, my friend. Have a great day. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on another great episode of Seeds of Abundance. Have an amazing day.